Media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? No fancy intros today. First off, no clickbait on the title. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Canada is finished. This is the end of Canada. Canada has no identity anymore. So I really don't think I'm wrong for saying this in the title. In fact, everyone in this country should officially pack up and go, as far as I'm concerned. If you care about values, if you care about the nuclear family, if you care about your identity as a citizen, I hate to break it to you, Justin Trudeau and Marc Miller have officially obliterated Canada. They have destroyed what makes Canada Canada. And, well, now we're going to have bigger issues on our hands. Again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get straight down to the point today. Marc Miller coming out with a new citizenship bill introduced by the Liberal government and says as long as a Canadian parent who was born outside of Canada has accumulated 3 years of time spent in Canada before the birth of their child abroad, they will be able to pass down their citizenship. What citizenship? They don't have any. They don't live here. The floodgates are open now. Anybody can just come into Canada. The gates are open. Who's going to come here? I can tell you right now, we're going to play this 30-second clip, and then we're going to get into who exactly is coming to Canada and why this is a big problem.
Under the new legislation, children born abroad to a Canadian citizen who is also born outside Canada will be a Canadian citizenship from birth if their parent can demonstrate they have a substantial connection to Canada. As long as a Canadian parent who was born outside of Canada has accumulated 3 years of time spent in Canada before the birth of the child, they'll be able to pass down their citizenship to their child. Finally, we wanted to take this opportunity to continue to minimize differential outcomes as much as possible for children born abroad and adopted by Canadians compared to children born to Canadians.
So essentially, if a student comes here for 3 years and then has a child back home, that child is now a Canadian citizen and they have the rights to move to Canada. As far as I understand, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody could correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments. But that's what it sounds like to me. Speaking of students, this is who's coming here. Brampton is done for. Was born and raised in Brampton to an Indian household. My parents came here in the 80s, assimilated well, and created a Canadian family that's as patriotic as one can be. Got to live in a diverse neighborhood, play hockey locally, work in the city, get a degree. But now I have until September and I'm gone forever. I'm pursuing a law degree way outside of the GTA. Will get my degree and never return to the city. It's become unrecognizable. Nobody speaks a lick of English. Cars revving their engines 24/7, people with horrible social cues, and general lack of decency. It's horrific. Every day I dread going out with the stuff that I see. I don't see a single person who hasn't come straight from India in the past 8 years. These people are from the same community as me, but I've grown to despise my cultural identity. I couldn't agree more. It used to be you come to the country, you don't say anything offensive, you join, you assimilate, you can still hold your values. I'm not saying somebody can't hold their values in Canada, but we're not seeing that right now. People say colonization. This is taking over. This is invasion. They're coming here, and not just Indians, but the majority of them are. But they're coming here and they're bringing their problems here. We're seeing it with the Palestine protests. We're seeing it with Ukraine. I take my kids to our local playground. All the parents there are speaking Ukrainian, Russian. And I'm sitting here saying, where are all the English parents? Where's all the kids who have families that grew up around here, that started living here? I'm not saying people can't come here and start over, build up, get a business going, be successful, contribute. But in Canada, we speak English, assimilate, be a part of things. The tax breaks that they get, the benefits and bonuses that they get, the money they hide when they come here. We've seen Indian students that we've shown on video, countless videos, saying, oh, look, we go to the food bank and get everything for free, even though I have a $96,000 a year job. I go and get fresh fruit. I can take as much as I like. Take away from actual Canadians that need this shit. I'm pissed. I've had enough. Enough. And for anybody saying, well, Pierre Poilievre said that he's going to put a stopper on immigration. He's going to clamp down on it. With this new bill in place, how is he going to do that? He can't just overturn it all of a sudden. These things have to go through the Senate, and we all know how corrupt the Senate is. How is Pierre going to fix this problem? I can tell you one thing. He wants immigrants just as much as the next guy. And I said it in the other video. All of these politicians love when immigrants come here because they don't know anything about our politics. They don't know anything about the way that we do things in this country. They simply vote for who brought them over, who made their lives better. And when 25 of them all live in a house, it's better living conditions than what they came from. But they come here and they try to turn Canada into the same third world shithole that they came from. Do you see people in Canada that grew up here, were born here, moving to India and assimilating? Do you see people who grew up here moving to Southeast Asia and turning it into Canada? Maybe we should. I don't know. I'm starting to understand why some people have said, enough of this, I'm going to pack up and leave. Canada's over. Your elections are now compromised. All of our elections are compromised going forward. This is vote buying. And these people, these migrants that come in here, we've already seen it in Toronto. When you look at the South American migrants that are flooding in from places over Roxham Road like New York, where their governor has openly admitted to bussing them in, with the Trudeau government saying we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to house these people in hotels and wait for their day in court, instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars hiring people at the border to say, not here, turn around, get out. We're closed. Canada's closed. I'm sick and tired of giving my tax dollars for other people to come here and benefit. It doesn't even end there. Alberta Plumber putting out a great tweet. Should have been born in Canada. There's nothing unfair about this. If a business model for institutions is to use immigrants as funding, fine. They should be paying extra for the use of our healthcare system too. Canada first. We are being sucked dry by immigration. Enough. And this is the problem. You give an inch, they take a mile. They come here and they say everything's unfair. It's all unfair. Then go home. Go home. Pack your shit and leave. Look at this. Listen to what this guy says.
And my friends who work from here, he paid $2,500 for same course for 2 semesters for 8 months. How fair is that, sir? This is where I'm coming from, what I paid extra. How interesting is that? All together I paid around $30,000 for my tuition. For same schooling fee, a person who is born and raised in Canada paid around $10,000. That $20,000, whether it led me to the country, but that is not a thing, right? Extra $20,000.
Yeah, you know why you're paying extra? Because you're getting a premium. You're benefiting. Nobody held a gun to your head and said you have to come to Canada to go to school. It's a premium. If you want to come here, there's a cost. Keep in mind that people who are born here have paid into our tax system. Their families pay property taxes. Their families pay federal taxes. They pay into scams like the Canada Pension Plan. You're darn rights they get to pay less. They've earned it. They're Canadian citizens. If I went to the United States tomorrow and said I want all the benefits of an American, I would expect them to charge me a premium. And I'd expect them to also say, if you're not happy, you're free to go back to Canada. In fact, Americans would have no issue saying that because Canadians don't bother because apparently we don't have a backbone. Our prime minister sits with his legs crossed like a girl and has no stones between his legs to tell people we're closed. No mas. Canada has officially lost its identity. We've been invaded. It's happened over the last few decades, and this is it. This is it. This new bill, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of everything. CTV News, of course, because it's a prostitute site, I want to cover what they're saying. That new government bill tabled in the House of Commons on Thursday would allow Canadians to pass citizenship rights down to their children born outside the country, a move that would add an unknown number of new citizens. Now, people say, well, if you're in America and say your wife is pregnant and, goes into labor while you're in America, if your child is born in America, technically, that child has dual citizenship. But that child needs to be born in America. There's a reason why after so many months of pregnancy, you're told you cannot fly. They don't want to give you citizenship. They don't want you getting under the radar and taking advantage of the system over a technicality. In 2009, former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government changed the law so that Canadian parents who were born abroad could not pass down their citizenship unless their child was born in Canada. Absolutely. Those who have not had access to citizenship rights as a result of the amendments are known as lost Canadians. You don't have rights. You're not Canadian. You have rights for wherever you're born, if that country has rights. If you want to come to Canada, there are legal ways to do it. It seems like now it's a matter of just crossing a road, and it's done. The new bill looks to undo the change, which was struck down by a recent court challenge and extended citizenship by descent beyond the first generation born outside of Canada. The legislation would automatically confer citizenship rights to children born since 2009 who were affected by the Conservatives' changes. It would also create a new test for children born after legislation comes into force. Parents who were born outside of Canada will need to have spent at least 3 years in Canada before the birth or adoption of their child to pass on their Canadian citizenship. Again, so if I were to if you want to move to the United States, you can get a job offer there and get what's called a TN working visa. My wife almost got one back during the pandemic days to move to Texas. Those can be extended up to 3 years. And if your employer is enjoying what you're doing, if they're willing to sponsor you past those 3 years, you can go through the rigorous process again, have that extended and stay longer, and eventually, hopefully, apply for citizenship in the United States of America. But it's a very lengthy and very costly process. In Canada, if you come here for 3 years, well, all of a sudden you're a citizen. You can vote, you can buy homes, you can do everything that Canadians do. In fact, you can do more than Canadian-born citizens can do with your tax exemptions and all your breaks. This student over here, by the way, whose friends, steal from food banks, he talks about how unfair it is he has to pay a premium. Hey, you guys are stealing our food bank stuff. There's no doubt that Canadian citizenship is highly valued and recognized around the world. Not anymore. We want citizenship to be fair, accessible, and clear and transparent rules. Why not the same metric that the United States has? Why? Why can't we have that? That's fair. I think it's fair. I would love to move to the United States, especially now. I think their rules are fair. Last year, Ontario Superior Court found that the current system unconstitutionally creates 2 classes of Canadians and gave Ottawa until June 19th to fix the problem. This is an example of Conservatives taking away Canadians' rights and something they must hold dear to them in their citizenship, Miller said. Doesn't this guy look like a snake? Like one of those lizard people? Or like Mark Zuckerberg? Like they look like a robot almost? Like they're just not human? Enough is enough. I am so sick and tired of this. I can't even get into the article even more. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've spent a good portion of this video yelling, but I told you last week, I'm not censoring myself when it comes to this stuff anymore. I think that Canadians need to grow a spine. I think that we need to start saying no more often. And we need to start valuing our country because, look, the writing's on the wall that our identity as a country is finished. It's over. Canada is finished. It's done. Justin Trudeau and Marc Miller and this woke Liberal Party have essentially destroyed our once great country. I don't know how we get it back. And I don't know how you're going to try and tell me that Pierre Poilievre is going to fix this. And you say, well, they amended Stephen Harper's rules. Pierre can do the same thing. It's got to go through the Senate. There's a lengthy process to this. By that time, how many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of migrants are going to be flooding into this country saying, we want to erect more religious statues. We want to change your holidays. We want you to stop doing offensive things that are Canadian values. I go out now in public in Calgary and I hear the word white people more than anything in the world right now. And I'm always told, well, it's not racist. White people are the ones that are racist. It's not racist for us to use the words white people. Yes, it is. I'm at the point, I'm not a racist person. I have friends who are Indian. I have friends whose families migrated to Canada who are Indian. I have friends who have their families have migrated to Canada from other countries in the world. My father is a landed immigrant from Scotland. I know that's not India, but I come from a family of migrants. They all had to go through a legal process and they had to pledge that they're willing to become Canadian citizens, that Canada is their country, that they're not bringing their problems here, that they're not going to turn our country into the crap hole that they came from. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is it over? Is Canada done? Is this the end? Is the writing on the wall? Join me tonight for Friday Night Fringe at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, where we're definitely going to be talking about this, amongst other things, in the live chat. And I always look forward to hearing what you guys have to say inside those streams. Make sure if you're clicking that subscribe button, hit your bell for notifications. Please, please, please leave a thumbs up and a comment on this video. Anytime I go on these rants, these unhinged Fringe rants, YouTube wants to censor this content. They don't want it getting out there. They completely shadow ban it. So any engagement at all is appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, I would definitely appreciate the help. I hope to see you guys in tonight's live stream and hope you have a great rest of your day. I know I won't, but I'll catch you on the next one.